I've grown so tired of AI tools that generate code that would just never work and meticulously debugging all the problems myself until I realized that this is a solvable problem. So typical AI tools work like this. They generate code, and if it works, that's great. And when it doesn't, that's your problem. And that's where they stop. People have thought like maybe you could make an agent like AutoGPT that does work on a loop and tries to debug and fix code itself. The problem is they tend to derail. Kind of like a Roomba getting stuck under a table, problems compound and they just get lost and never recover. But it dawned on me, what about instead of trying to boil the ocean and create an everything AI agent, what if we solved a simpler problem? So I made this thing called a micro agent. It does one unique important thing. It doesn't turn prompts into code. Instead, it first turns prompts into tests, which in my experience, LLMs are quite good at generating a unit test file based on requirements, especially compared to generating implementation code. So the agent writes the tests, gets your approval, and then iterates on the code until the tests pass. And whether it takes one step or several steps to get the final working code, you have guarantees that this code passes your tests, which means it can handle a broad set of expected scenarios with clear inputs and outputs that it should be able to provide. This, in our experience, makes all the difference. The test gives it clear success criteria and feedback on each iteration, and the AI can continue to solve what is wrong with the test with the feedback of what error was thrown or assertion didn't succeed, and that gives the agent guardrails to stay on track. You can try microagent yourself by just npm installing Builder.io/micro-agent. Then just apply an OpenAI key. It'll use GPT-4o for generating the tests and the code as well as the corrections. And then just in any project, run microagent in your terminal. Describe what you want, like a function that converts an HTML string to an AST. It'll suggest a file name based on the conventions of your repo, and then generate a test. You can provide feedback, or just looks good, and it'll figure out what your test command is, or just use npx vtest if you don't have a test runner installed. Then we just let it run. Microagent will run the test, and then pass the test output back in along with the test code, and generate new code or updated code to try to ultimately pass the test. In its first try, it tried to use a DOM parser, but then realized that it's running in Node.js instead of in the browser. On the second try, it's pretty close, but not quite there yet still. And there we go. After just a couple iterations, all the tests pass. Now in VS Code, we can see our newly generated test file and the implementation that passed all the tests. We've even integrated microagent into Visual Copilot, so when you turn designs into code, that code will now more accurately reuse your components, pass your tests, lint, TypeScript, and anything else unique to your repo. And that's just the beginning. We're looking to use microagent for a number of use cases, such as accurately converting whole Figma prototypes to code, and we're exploring more end-to-end use cases, where multiple microagents plus your feedback can come together to solve even harder problems. We even use microagent to build microagent, and a lot of other Builder.io code day to day. You can learn more about how to use microagent and what we're up to with it in my latest blog post on the Builder.io blog. I can't wait to see what awesome stuff you build with it. And if you have any feedback or run into issues, open an issue in GitHub and or tweet at me. I try to reply to everybody.